So the Houston Rockets have been going through it over the last year and a half. They lost their entire core in James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Clint Capella, and PJ Tucker, all for John Wall, Kelly Olynyk, and some mid to late first round picks, as well as some pick swaps, which is basically the equivalent of trading diamonds and gold for some Takis and a Sprite with the chance of maybe striking gold again. So yeah, it's been rough to say the least. But let's not talk about all the dumb choices made by the Houston Rockets at this point, and instead let's focus on what to do moving forward. So with that all out of the way, drop the intro. So before we talk about where the Houston Rockets are going to be going, what they should do from here, let's talk about what they are as a team as of right now. As of right now, the Rockets are a team that finished 17-55. And in offensive rating, they were the 27th rated offense in the league and the 27th rated defense. So bad in both. Their best player as of right now is Christian Wood, with a chance for it to be KPJ moving forward. But as things settle, right now, Christian Wood is the guy. And he only played 41 games last year. The other core members of their team right now, and John Wall only played 40 games, and Kevin Porter only played 26 games for them this season. They also had a rookie head coach who wasn't always accepted by the veterans, so that caused some problems early on because some of the veterans didn't want to play for him. They didn't believe his system was going to work. They didn't like where he was going with the team, and that caused dismay in the locker room. And that's why people like James Harden, people like PJ Tucker, they kind of wanted out immediately. Now, I'm of the belief that Stephen Silas is actually going to be a pretty good coach. He's been around the league for a while, and he's an offensive-minded coach. He had the Dallas Mavericks running some of the best offensive schemes in the league. He did all that out there. He was, he's a really good mind. He comes from an NBA background with Paul Silas. They kind of call him like the offensive version of a Brad Stevens. So, you take it where you wear. Some of the moves that the Houston Rockets should consider doing is they should consider packaging the 21st and 24th picks for a higher pick or a future first round pick and a decent veteran who can bring knowledge to the locker room. See, right now the Houston Rockets are just in rebuild mode. They're trying to get as much talent as possible, but the problem is they gave a lot of their picks to OKC. They got some pick swaps with OKC. They got some things going on because of that Russell Westbrook and Chris Paul trade, and now they're just a really bad team. So you have to make the most of what they got. They got some picks from Miami. They got some picks in the James Harden move. They might be able to benefit off of some of the picks they received from the Brooklyn Nets, but I doubt it. I know they got Miami's pick this year. They're just not in a great position as a whole. So they should consider, packaging some of those picks. They should have just bring in a whole bunch of young guys at once because you kind of want to prioritize your young guys. And if you bring in a whole bunch at the same time, especially with y'all having a chance to get the number one pick since y'all was the worst team in the league, it's best not to bring in so many young guys all at once. I would consider packaging the 21st, 24th pick. Maybe you can move up closer into the lottery with those picks, but that is something that you can consider doing. You might be able to get up to the 17th pick and pick up somebody like Jared Butler or Trey Mann who might be able to help y'all going forward. Or you can get Usman Gorba. I probably pronounced that wrong, but you could get somebody like that if you move up. And that's just something that you can consider doing if you're the Houston Rockets. Or you can, get a pick or future pick for next year, maybe a second rounder, a couple second rounders and a veteran, somebody who can come in there and help some of the young guys that you're going to be bringing in this offseason, because veteran help is important to a team's development. You need veterans teaching the young guys what it means to be a professional on the court. A bunch of young guys just don't make for great development. You need some veterans in there to show them the way. John Wall, I understand y'all have him on his team. He's a veteran, but at the end of the day, he's still trying to prove that he's back to where he is, that he still belongs. So he has ulterior motives, in my opinion. And then other than that, that's the only real veteran I can think of off the top of my head. You need some more guys in there who's been in the league 7, 8, 9 years, a decade or so, who just knows what it takes, to be on a winning team, or knows what it takes to be competitive in this league. As far as the NBA draft is concerned, the best case scenario for them is if they can draft Cade Cunningham or Evan Mobley. I didn't mention Jalen Green, even though I think that Jalen Green could get some consideration here. And he's definitely in the conversation with the other two for being the best prospect in this draft. I really like Jalen Green. My only thing about Jalen Green is that you basically bring Jalen Green in and you have to play him at the 2 or the 3 immediately. And I don't really know if I want him to be that from day one. He has kind of a slim, skinny frame. KPJ could probably play the small forward, but he's kind of shown the ability to be a playmaker for the team moving forward. So him and Jalen Green will work if it was just those two. But then John Wall's also gonna be around, and regardless of those young guys, John Wall is making super max money. You're going to have to play John Wall. He's going to have to be in your starting lineup. And I just don't know if the starting lineup of Kevin Porter Jr., John Wall, and Jalen Green just makes any kind of sense. I don't really know if that's going to be good for his development. But, if y'all keep y'all pick, because that's the main thing. The worst case scenario is if y'all lose that pick. See, OKC gets the pick if it falls below 3. So they can get it if it's the 4th or the 5th pick. So if the Houston Rockets don't get 1, 2, or 3, then they're going to lose out on the chance to keep their pick if it falls to 4 or 5 or any lower. And that's just not going to be good for them. They really need to keep this pick because it's going to be one of their more important picks. I believe next year is the pick swap with them. So if OKC is bad, OKC doesn't have the incentive to be, worse than Houston next year. They don't have any incentive to be that, because if Houston is, worse than them, they're just going to swap the picks. They're going to want to be better. They're going to play pretty good ball more than likely. Plus, they got better assets to move forward anyway. So, I could, predict that long as Houston keeps their pick, that's the best case scenario for them. And, I would say draft Cade Cunningham or Evan Mobley. I would probably take Cade over Mobley. But you could take Mobley, a front court with him and Christian Wood would be kind of weird just because they're both really slim guys. Evan Mobley has potential to be, a great two-way center, while Christian Wood is more of a stretch offensive center, and who can also play power forward because of his slim frame, and he has the, ball handling to be kind of a power forward in this league. Either one of them, they're kind of interchangeable, but it would just be a really slim front court, not a lot of strength, and I don't know if that's going to really work out. So, that's the best case scenario. Worst case is just losing their pick to OKC. Now, some realistic scenarios for drafting. If they end up keeping their 21st and their 24th picks, some realistic options for them will be Isaiah Jackson from Kentucky. Honestly, Isaiah Jackson kind of reminds me of Precious Achiuwa in some kind of ways. He has a little bit of Precious Achiuwa in him. He has a little bit of Isaiah Stewart from last year. He's going to be like a small ball center. I think he's only about 6'9", 6'10". He's athletic. He has some verticality to him where he can really jump up. He got some, athleticism to him. He's going to be one of those guys who's kind of a run and dunk center, small, hybrid, kind of move, be strong. He even has some kind of vision to him. He can make some passes. He's not a great passer. Doesn't come off as a, but he could be a guy who can do some playmaking from short handoffs and stuff like that. Maybe not at the highest level. I know Usman's a little bit better than him at that kind of stuff, but he does show some ability to maybe be able to pull that kind of stuff off. He doesn't necessarily have the burst off the bounce that you would like. He's more somebody who, kind of makes the cuts and gets the verticality that way. He's athletic that way, but I like Isaiah Jackson. Definitely might be a steal at that end of the draft. And I kind of, think he's going to be a decent player in the league. Another guy that they consider drafting is Roku Parkinson. And I probably pronounced his name wrong as well. Not a lot of people talk about Roku, but Roku's probably going to be one of the steals of the draft because he's going to come in so late. Roku is really offensively talented. If you kind of watch him, he's not really big. He's not extremely athletic, but he's good. He's mobile. He has an offensive skill set and offensive mindset. He can make the passes. He's pretty strong in the post. He kind of reminds me of Dario Saric, but he could be better than Dario Saric. Has a higher potential than Dario Saric, but that's kind of who I compare Roku to, and I would consider drafting him with one of those picks at the end of the round if they decide to keep him. Those will be my two guys. If they decide to move up, guys that they consider moving up for would be Trey Mann or Usman Gurba. And again, I probably pronounced his name wrong. I'm not very good at pronunciation. But those are the guys I would consider if moving up. And I'm probably leaning more towards Usman, who kind of reminds me of Bam Adebayo. Not as athletic as Bam, but he is strong. He definitely has some point guard, very great defensive instincts. And I would definitely consider moving up for Usman over Trey Mann, but Trey Mann also might be able to be considered somebody that you can move up for. If Kai Jones falls outside the lottery, which is a chance, maybe take consideration with Kai Jones because of his ball handling potential to be kind of a hybrid forward center kind of guy. And, anybody kind of like that, even though he's a really raw talent, you can consider him. I think Usman's going to be better than him. But these are some considerations if they decide to keep their pick. The last thing I'm really going to talk about with this team is kind of who they should target in free agency and maybe some people they should resign. See, they should consider re-signing Kelly Olynyk and DJ Wilson just because Kelly Olynyk was really good for them. It might not cost them very much to retain him. They should consider trying to re-sign him if possible. He's been in some really good locker rooms. He knows what it takes to win. He can help some of the young guys out, so maybe consider re-signing him. DJ Wilson, for his potential, he seemed to be pretty decent for them as well in the short period he played for them. So I would also consider re-signing DJ Wilson. Probably wouldn't cost very much to get both those returned. Maybe put Kelly Olynyk on the mid-level exception. And he probably just take it. I believe that Houston still has their mid-level exception, so probably wouldn't cost very much to keep him. And guys who they should target will be Naaman Bielisa, Mo Harkless, Paul Millsap, JaVale McGee, some veteran guys who's been in some locker rooms, know what it takes to win, and can help to the young core. Because again, Stephen Silas needs some veteran guys to back him up, because if the veterans are listening to Stephen Silas, the young players gonna want to listen to Stephen Silas. So you need quality veterans who are good teammates. And these guys have been in locker rooms, know what it takes to win, know where it's been to win. Even though they're not great players themselves, give them 10, 15 minutes a night to kind of let the young guys, see how they go out there and play. Also have them talk to young guys, make them mentors to young guys. These are kind of guys you need in your locker room when you're developing young talent, in my opinion. They can kind of weave out who's going to make it, who's not going to be able to make it. They can kind of be the lapdogs of the coaches. And these are kind of guys that I would consider and would like on my team. If I was, developing a young team, if I was Stephen Silas, these are some guys I would mention. And none of these guys should be too expensive. So even though they're over the cap, they could probably sign them for the veteran minimum or however much, things that they can do. They could probably sign them for the minimum, some of these guys. And if they don't re-sign Kelly Olynyk, they could probably even use a mid-level exception on part of them for a couple of these guys. So these are guys that they should consider. And on top of that, out of all the targets, I want Naaman Bielisa the most because he can shoot. And Houston was a really bad shooting team. They were really terrible at that end. They need some people who can actually shoot a jumper, who can hit some jump shots for them. Christian Wood can shoot. Kelly Olynyk can shoot. But a lot of their guards, they weren't hitting their jump shots. And they need some shooting back there. So that's kind of where I'm going to be going with this. And that's basically going to be what I believe the Houston Rockets, the direction they should be going in as a team. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave me a like and subscribe to the channel, as your support would be much appreciated. And with that all out of the way, y'all have a wonderful day. Thank you for your time. Peace.